We all know that embarking on the Etsy print-on-demand journey can be exhilarating. As someone who reached six figures in just 10 months after starting in 2022 while working on it in just small pockets of time, I will be the first to tell you how much potential is out there and what's possible. Perhaps you've watched all the YouTubes or the TikToks, you've got your Etsy shop, and you feel like you're following all the steps and doing all the things, and you are so excited for this business and to see where it can lead you. And then you experience one of the toughest parts of this business, overwhelm. That feeling that creeps in when you're learning the ins and outs of not only starting and running a business, but also sustaining it for long term. This can also be the stage when many sellers give up before they've truly realized their full potential. So for today's video, while it's also serving as a wrap-up to my in-depth time blocking series, I also want to give you some strategies that have worked for me in helping to control the overwhelm, leverage data to help provide direction, and ultimately maintain consistency while growing a thriving print-on-demand business, even when things get tough. In case we haven't met yet, my name is Mandy, and as the owner of multiple six-figure businesses, including Etsy print-on-demand shops, my goal is to provide you with strategies to simplify the journey and scale your business faster so that you can thrive with print-on-demand. I started building my shop aggressively in the summer of 2022 with the sheer vision of doing my very best to set up my shop for success going into Q4 last year. At one point, I had this number of having 700 listings by Q4, so that would be by October 1st. Why 700? To be honest, I knew that I needed volume in order to be able to give myself immense amounts of data to be able to see which listings and design styles got the most traction. Apparel was my preferred focus, and if you look at most of the really successful apparel shops out on Etsy, especially the newer ones within the last few years, they have massive amounts of listings. Success leaves clues. So for me, 100 listings didn't quite feel like enough of a goal, and 1,000 didn't really feel realistic for me personally, knowing that I had less than 5 months to accomplish it, and I was also running a separate handmade business full time. So 700 it was. Then comes that overwhelming sense of I need to do all of the important aspects of researching and designing and listings, and I need to make sales, and I need to figure out pricing, and if I want to do ads, and oh, by the way, should I accept returns or not accept returns? And that is where goal setting came in. I know for many people, goal setting can be a little woo, but when you are faced with a very specific vision in mind and a lot of ground to cover to get there, goal setting is like charting your course on the map of success. It provides you with direction, purpose, and a roadmap to follow, and it will help you transform that overwhelming mountain of tasks into a series of manageable actions. So with that, you may be thinking, I know, I'll set a sales goal. Don't start there. I didn't. It goes against every business instinct you've probably heard, but the reality is that sales are a moving target on Etsy and can be the fastest way to feel defeated and disappointed. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about being results oriented, but when we're setting goals as a new shop, you'll need to focus on controlling your controllables. And sales is something that you can't directly control on Etsy unless you plan on driving your own traffic, which I don't. If you are focused on chasing sales or chasing a specific number, you're not focused on your ultimate task, which is growing your shop based on customer demand. So instead, I think of sales as a byproduct of your efforts elsewhere. Set a goal you can control. As a new shop, my specific goal was 700 listings. With less than 5 months to do that, that equated to about 140 listings per month. And if you break that down a little further, that equates to about 35 listings per week, which is really only 5 listings per day. I had a little less than 5 months to work with, so I was actually looking at something closer to 6 listings per day as an average. That felt doable. Once I had an average number of listings per week that I wanted to produce, I next needed to have a priority around where to start. Once you set your big goal, you might think the next step isn't to just start cranking out listings as fast as humanly possible, right? No. Stop right there. Do not go out and start blindly creating designs that you think will sell. Your first step is research, always. You need to be able to understand what's in demand in the marketplace that you want to sell in, as well as who your target customer is, so that your designs and approach will actually create a connection with them. If you're not sure who your niche or target is, I'll link my niche playlist. And if you're not sure how to connect with your niche or identify types of styles that are in demand, go to the very beginning of this time blocking series and watch the research episode. Research will have a direct influence not only on your designs, but also your keywords and SEO that you use for your listings. Shiny object syndrome can be crippling in print on demand because you see all of the possibilities and you start thinking you need a Halloween shirt with a pumpkin or a Christmas shirt with a cute saying. Stick to the niches and target customers based on research. Serve them with your holiday ideas and make designs specific to them, but do not chase the shiny objects. I am 100% guilty of this and did it a ton in the beginning because you see the cute trend, and because it's so easy to do with print on demand, before you know it, you've made 20 of them. Save yourself the trouble. You will not stand out from the crowd or catch up to stores that have already mastered these very general, broad approaches. So don't let yourself get distracted. So back to our action plan. We've got our listing goal. We know that we need to do research, design, create mock-ups, and list products. Now what? From there, that is where the approach of this whole series brings those goals to life. Time blocking and batching. Time blocking and batching is the superpower combo in your productivity arsenal. It's a strategy that involves scheduling dedicated chunks of time for specific tasks. This not only keeps you organized, but also maximizes your efficiency and creativity. Imagine each day as a canvas, and you're the artist deciding how to fill it. By allocating focused time blocks for tasks like research, design, creating mock-ups, and listing your products on platforms like Printify and Etsy, you'll ensure that you're making the most out of every minute because you're giving your undivided attention to each piece of the process, and you're not constantly switching between tasks. By incorporating time blocking into your routine, you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish in a day. Plus, it helps keep overwhelm at bay by breaking your workload into manageable portions. All of the prior videos in this series have been about the specific activities that you can accomplish in each of the key time blocks. So if you haven't seen them, definitely watch the full series for all of the little golden nuggets that are woven throughout them. But what did this look like in actual practice when I was scaling my business quickly? Like, what did a week look like? Successful entrepreneurs know that achieving long-term success requires both big picture thinking and granular planning. That's where monthly and weekly planning comes into play. Now, I'm not talking about sitting down and spending hours of your precious time with busy work and tons of calendars to plan everything. Keep it simple. I literally just have a template that I created in Canva to help me do some of this each week. Remember, my zoomed out vision was to have a solid shop up and running by Q4. So my overall goal to achieve that was 700 listings. And then based on being a shopper myself on Etsy and having a good sense of what was trending, I knew that I wanted to have a general shop centered around apparel, primarily sweatshirts, because I knew that t-shirts were less profit and harder to break into. And I wanted to have a variety of specific niches with an aesthetic anchored by vintage and cottagecore elements in the designs. Each month, as I mentioned earlier, I had a goal of how many listings I wanted to reach. You'll remember that divided into about 35 a week. So then, as part of my action planning at the beginning of each week, I would identify when I would fit in my bigger time blocks of research, design, mock-ups, and listings. Those tend to be the big ones. First on my calendar, I plugged in any activities or appointments for the week that I knew I already had scheduled. I always prioritize my family time first. I also plugged in the time that I was working in my other handmade business as well. I had deadlines and orders that were priority each week, so then those got added in. Then I started plugging in my print-on-demand shop activities in the pockets of time that were left. Typically, I tried to front load my week with a bigger chunk of time for research, and then that would allow me to do shorter designing sessions throughout the week that would go much faster because I would already have a sense of what I was going to do based on what I saw in the research. I knew that I could typically batch design on average 12 to 15 good designs within about 30 minutes. So for my week, I would fill in 3 design blocks for the week just to be safe. Remember, I don't create volume across niches in these types of batches. I create multiple designs for a particular niche so that it's more efficient and I can create volume within each niche as I go. I've linked my design video for you from the earlier time blocking if you want to see that more in depth and why I do it that way. Then for each design block, I would make sure I had a corresponding mock-up, Printify, and Etsy time block so that each batch of those designs could get listed together. That means after each Etsy time block, there would be 12 to 15 new listings hitting my Etsy shop, so that by the time I got to the end of the week, I would have between 36 and 45 new listings. This was the priority, and this is how I controlled the urge to start panic listing and making random creations that had no basis in research or customer demand. That is why identifying your priorities and goals for the week, committing to your research, and then following with time blocks based on that research allows you to focus. By strategically assigning specific tasks to your time blocks, it helps ensure that you're inching closer to your monthly goals. It's like assembling a puzzle, with each task representing a piece that brings you closer to completing the picture. This approach not only keeps you accountable, but also provides the flexibility to adapt and adjust your plans as needed. Not every week goes as planned, so I always build in a white space for when things come up or I need to move things around. The other activity that I do each week is brain dump. This is not an eloquent way to say it, but it's entirely descriptive of what it is. As I'm thinking about all the things I feel like I need to do or focus on, especially with a new shop, it can get wildly overwhelming. And I don't know about you, but when that happens to me, I get to a point where my mind gets so consumed with all the things I feel like I need to do that I don't actually end up doing any of them. And then that just makes me even more stressed. So at the beginning of each week, as I'm planning out what I need to do, I jot down every task, idea, or concern that's swirling around in my mind. As much of a digital age as we're in, it's pen and paper that I need for this too. This act of externalizing your thoughts and getting them out on paper or whatever else works for you helps create mental space and clarity. Because then once I've got my brain dump, number one, it's not really in my head anymore, it's on the piece of paper. And then it's time to prioritize. This means from that brain dump list, I identify the tasks that are truly essential and aligned with my weekly goals, whether it be for personal or business or whatever else. In the case of building my shop, the priority was adding listings. So if there were things that I needed to add into the week from my brain dump list, I would allocate working on them to their own time block. And if not, the activities on the list simply stayed there and I'd revisit them during my next brain dump session to see if they were still relevant. This turned that overwhelming feeling into a well-organized plan of action. Now, some of you may be thinking, but what about the other aspects that go into getting this business set up? What about the price to set for my listings? What about free shipping? Should I offer returns? Or I think I need a loss leader. What should I do about that? And here is my bold claim on those, my friend. They are distractions. You are probably overthinking them. I'm not saying don't think about them, but don't let them consume you. Assign yourself a time block to focus on each of your concerns or questionable areas like that. Make a good attempt at a decision and then move forward. Stop fixating on them and letting those hold you back when your actual focus should be on researching customer demand and identifying the specific customers that you want to serve with your shop. Good designs that deeply resonate with a customer will sell at higher prices. Good designs with the no return options will sell. Good designs for the right customer with the no free shipping attached to it will sell. I did not and do not use loss leaders in my shop. Doesn't mean you can't, doesn't mean it's not a strategy that works, but it's a decision that should not consume you. Pick a direction for whatever you're stuck on and try it. And if you decide down the road that you want to change your strategy in any of these areas, I have good news for you. It's your business, and you get to absolutely change things later in whatever way works for you and your customers. Which brings me to analyzing data from your shop so that you can make data-driven decisions. As you get listings up, you will start to get a slow influx of data into your shop. Do not obsess over this data each day. It will drive you crazy because the Etsy algorithm is going to be all over the place while it figures out who you are, what you sell, and which customers it should be showing your listings to. As data starts to come in though, turn on your shop stats. This will show you views and favorites for each of your listings. Views mean that your listings are starting to show up and get seen. Favorites mean that there was something about your listing that caught the eye of someone. Over time, you can start to determine if you need to make changes based on whether your listing is not showing up in searches, which pinpoints an SEO problem, or you're getting lots of views and favorites but no sales, which can be indicative of design, mock-up, pricing, or other conversion barriers, ultimately resulting in customers not wanting to purchase your listing. If you need some pointers on that, I have linked my video related to fixing common issues with listings. I also look at my shop stats, typically with the last 30 days view and sometimes longer once you actually have the data. Your stats will ebb and flow. Don't panic. Look for trends. As a newer shop, you should start to see upward progress and more traffic as you add more listings. As you get sales, you'll also start to see your conversion rate. The average apparel shop on Etsy is typically around 1% to 2%, while high-performing stores can average higher conversion rates. I also take a look at the How Shoppers Found Me section. Etsy app and other Etsy pages are views from the app and other pages on Etsy where your listings might get suggested or appear on someone's favorite list. The Etsy search category is exactly what it sounds like. This will tell you the listings showing up in searches and the search terms that are most frequently connected to your shop. And then finally, the Etsy marketing and SEO. A lot of people confuse this with Etsy SEO, and they are two different things. This section is going to be when your listings show up in searches off of Etsy. These are not your paid ads, but these are placements that Etsy is doing to drive traffic to the marketplace. And it's also when your listing shows up in searches occurring on places like Google or Yahoo or Bing or others. These are all going to be helpful to keep an eye on, and as you click further into them and into listings that show up within them, it'll give you clues as to which listings are showing up and performing well over time. The other data point that I look at is the ads analytics when I have ads turned on. This will tell me if any of my ad dollars are bringing in a return. Just like a marketing budget with a business, Etsy ads are an investment, and there are certain approaches that I use for it. I'll link the video from my course where I talk more about my ad strategy, but I do look at the data points as part of my decision-making analysis. I look at the keywords being used in the search and turn off anything irrelevant. And I also look at my conversion and ROAS, which is your return on ad spend. If I'm spending a lot of money on a listing, but it's not converting high enough to make it worth it, I turn it off. In these instances, it's likely part of a higher competition niche, which means I'm paying more per click. And if I'm not getting a good return on that, it's not a good use of my ad dollars. As you get more listings and as you start to get favorites and sales, leverage that data. Leverage the data that you see in Etsy in terms of demand. Leverage the data that you see in platforms like eRank or Everbee. Leverage the data that you see coming from your shop as it grows over time. It will start to tell you a story of what's working and what's not. And when you find clues tell you that something is working, whether it's a design style or a niche, make more of them. Print on demand and Etsy success is not always fast. In fact, most of the time, it's definitely not. It's a long game that can sometimes require pivoting multiple times until you find a path that aligns with customer demand in the form of your niches and your designs. It requires navigating what is often the hardest part of business, which is overcoming the overwhelm, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs. Set your ultimate vision for your business. Have a broad goal that will move you towards that vision each month. Set a primary focus or goal for the week, and then brain dump to get everything out of your head, and then allocate time blocks based on the priorities that will move your shop forward and ultimately help you achieve your goals. Remember, this journey is all about progress, not perfection. It's normal to face challenges, but with the right tools and mindset, believe that you've got what it takes to overcome the overwhelm and start making progress. Now that we are officially at the end of our time blocking series, I want to hear from you. Which strategy resonates the most with you from this series? Are you excited to start setting goals and mastering time blocking? Or perhaps you're ready to tackle overwhelm head on with regular brain dumps? Or maybe you're batching your way through all of your mock-ups to save yourself tons of time. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to learn more about my strategies for thriving with your print-on-demand business, make sure you got the notifications turned on for my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my content. And in the meantime, be sure to check out the dedicated playlist with my full print-on-demand masterclass course right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next one. And if you're looking for more ways to continue the journey and stay connected, I'm excited to invite you to my brand new membership, the Simply Thrive Club. Unlike other programs, this is not a course. In fact, it's not even a program in the traditional sense. And that's because all of the steps that you need to build your print-on-demand business can be obtained for free on my channel. My in-depth course is not behind a paywall. So instead, this new membership is all about community with ongoing challenges to drive growth and a support system for accountability to keep going. It's goal setting to maximize your pockets of time and stay organized so that you can thrive even amidst a busy schedule. And it's action taking with expert resources and tools available in order to master skills necessary for scaling faster and more efficiently. This totally new platform is a community that is off of social media, including a community app, over 60 plus professional mockups with more on the way. There are monthly accountability challenges because, did I mention I'm all about consistency? I've included the ability to request quarterly comprehensive shop audits, and there are live group calls each month where we can talk about all things print on demand, time blocking, setting realistic goals, finding process efficiencies, and so much more. Be sure to check it out, and in the meantime, keep going, keep learning, and keep growing in your print on demand journey.